We have stuff. We have stuff. Right. Got the thing. We got the thing. Good job packaging there, guys. That was excellent. I'm impressed. So we're looking at the Chem Park streaming mirror. And I forget the name of that company. I'll have to look it up. Can't remember the name. But this sleeve side's off. Let me get into this box. Alright, so here we go. FHD rear view mirror. And I don't know if I can do this with one hand or not. Nope. Alright, so lid off. We have a foamy thing. And we have our device right here, the primary chunk of it. And I'll set it off the side of the box. Unlike a lot of people, when I do an unboxing, it's literally me figuring out what's in the box. I don't do it ahead of time. So if I sound like a retard, it's because I am a retard. All right, cardboard thingy out of the way. All right, so we got a cigarette lighter plug, power cable. We have the GPS antenna and plug, and this is the little 1/8 inch. We have the backup camera, or the rear camera with the extra red wire. So if you want to trigger the grid lines, you can. You don't need this red wire hooked up to trigger the camera. The camera you can trigger from the software in the mirror section. So all you need the red one on it. If you want to use it as a backup camera and you want those grid lines, the red wire, when you have it hooked up to your tail lights or to your reverse lights, will trigger the little grid lines to come on to show you where you're going. And I'm not going to be using those, so I won't even hook that wire up. But that's what that's for. And then we have a panel tool and the rubbers. There's 2 of those in there, so we got our rubbers to attach it to the rear view mirror if we want to do it that way. And we got a functional panel tool and those wires. So there's all that. And, I'm going to be doing the install probably tomorrow, but here's the thing. So I'm going to put it on this mirror just for the install and to try out the functionality of it. It's not going to live on this. I've got one of the mounts ordered to be able to mount it on the windshield and take this off and completely do a swap. But I am going to put it up here for the demo purposes. So for the initial install, and all the other stuff that goes on with the install will be the same regardless. It'll just be how the mirror is mounted itself. So we'll do this tomorrow. And I'm going to initially plug this into the cigarette lighter for the test purposes, but I'm going to be removing the cigarette lighter plug from this and running it, hardwiring it into the same source that I'm getting for my tablet, which is a key-on source. So there'll be a key-on source, and I'm going to pull it off of that. I got plenty of amperage that I can pull through that, and it'll run both, and that way it'll turn on and off with the ignition. And I won't be using a I don't even have a cigarette lighter plug, actually. I just remembered I replaced this one with a voltmeter, and that one has 2 USB ports. So yeah, anyway, that's what we're going to do. This is the initial unboxing here. So here is the little unit, and same as I've seen in several videos, there's about 5 or 6 manufacturers making all these things. And this one, I'm going to be pulling these little feet off right here, little rubbers off, and there's a screw under there. and you take the screws out and you can pull these little wings off, and then the bracket that I've got ordered, hopefully I got the right one, and it will screw to these 4 points and then give me the bracket to mount to the windshield. So hopefully it's the right one. I've made a big guess with it. The camera on this is adjustable, by the way. So this is the front camera, and it's a 4K camera in the front and a 1080p, a 1900 by 1080p in the back. Little guy. So there's the initial unboxing. All right, so the instruction pack in here says Cam Park, right there, and but the box lid says FHD rear view mirror, and the sleeve on top here says Cam Park R12 streaming media rear view mirror, 12-inch. Gives, let's see here, the back Cam Park R12. So I got it stuck up on the mirror right now, and if you were going to put this in a Tahoe like mine, with, you see how thick the Tahoe mirror already is? It's a big clunky thing, and that adds a lot to it. Doesn't really want to sit very well, and you have to push it way over to this side because you got to have room for the camera to be able to fit on the other side of the mirror. So it doesn't center up, but it would work. Okay, it would function. The mirror's got plenty of strength to hold it in place, and it would totally function. It's not how I'm going to roll. This whole mirror, they're huge. That mirror is just huge by itself, and adding the thing to it, just see, it doesn't really sit really well. There, it kind of sits on the mirror. It's not ideal for the 2010 Chevy Tahoe slash however many models there are in there, but it will work for that. Interestingly enough, if you want to run it this way, it does leave you access to your buttons down here if you actually use any of this stuff. I don't. So there's that. It's shady. Shady. Anyway, so yeah, it would work for this. It's just kind of a weird configuration, and it doesn't sit real nicely. So again, I've already got a completely different deal that I'm going to do. I'm going to actually remove this rearview mirror and replace it with a bracket that'll make this all much better. But that's about how it's going to be sitting right up in that area there. I've also got a third plan to create a bracket, because I run bass in here, lots of stereo stuff. So got a third plan to create a metal piece that comes out from up here, and then it comes down and folds down, and then mount it to that. So that's my third option if the bracket doesn't hold it securely, because like I said, I got stuff, I got stuff going on back there. So it's going to need to be pretty solid. So we'll see how it all works out. This is just the first portion. So if you guys are wondering about what kind of charger this takes, it takes the old school, the thicker version of this. I can't remember what it's called. I think this is actually called the micro USB, but it's the thicker one. So there you go. If you guys are wondering, that's what the cord is. And I don't know that it gives a voltage. DC output. Okay, there we go. Output DC 5 volts. 2500 milliamps, which is 2.5 amps. So You need a 5-volt, 2.5 amp output, which is totally any phone charger out there. Any phone charger should work. I'm gonna test it. Well, it's got to have this funky thing. So we went down to a gas station or whatever and find one that has one of these old school big USB deals on it. Then it'd be fine. So we could plug this in, or we can hook it. We can do all kinds of things. I'm gonna probably just straight wire it. Oh, and by the way, because I probably didn't make this clear. If you take this and cut this thing off right here and hook this up to your car's output, it's going to feed 12 volts into the unit and you will fry it. So what you have to do is take this apart and there'll be a circuit board in here, and get past that, get to the leads that go to this pin right here and to these side pieces, and that's the part that you wire into your 12. All right, so after taking the little ring off and prying that thing apart, I get to the inside piece. Now what you're wanting to do is, right where that spring is your positive. So you want a 12 volt positive connection right there. And then this part where these little buttons are on the side, these little wings, that's your negative. So if you look right here, you want to attach your negative there to where they hook up to the board. You can see the 2 points right there, and that's the same trace. So essentially, you could unsolder all that and then solder your negative side to either of these 2 pads, because they're literally connected together with this. So it's literally the same piece. Solder your negative to one of these and your positive to this pad right here, and then connect that to your 12 volt source, and you're ready to go. And you would just hide this, put some shrink wrap over this and hide it. Right here is your output for 5 volts. I don't know what it tells you on the board, if you can read it or not. Yeah, but that's your 5 volt output, positive and negative, and your 12 volt input, positive and negative. So we got to fix this part so that it works. Let's see if I can desolder this and pull it off of here without too much trouble. I think it's also got a mechanical fastener too. Yeah, it is. It's got a mechanical clip there as well as a solder. Pull it off. Get that out of the way. A little piece of wire right there. And this part right here. I gotta try to get it off here without destroying anything. I need some solder wick or a solder sucker, but I don't have one. Let's see if I got that out of there. I'm going to short that other trace out. There we go. Got it. All right. Yeah, I pulled the foil back on that part there, so I think we're good. I think we are good. There's no foil down there. I'll just have to plug it up and test it and see what it does. Alright, so I got it plugged in, and what I did was, after I got done soldering, I checked for a short, made sure there was no dead short, and everything's looking good. The circuit board is inside here. I used a piece of rubber, some thick rubber tape on the back side of the circuit board so that all the contacts would be, you know, rubberized, and I went around the edges of it a little bit, but I left all the circuitry on the board exposed so that it could get air in there to be able to cool, because there are components in there that could get warm, so I wanted to leave them to where they could get cool. I've got that tied into my source, which is pulled up where I can get to it right now, and that's an ignition source. So I got it plugged in. Let's turn the key on. And there we go. So my horrible soldering job was successful. There's no memory card in here right now, and that's the front camera. If you can see, if I hold it up here, that's the front camera. I got more to do. I got to hook up the back camera and all that other stuff. So it should go off when the key goes off, and bam, thing of beauty. Alright, I had it kind of temporarily put up here, and I've got the backup camera in my hand. You guys can see that's what's coming through the backup camera inside the vehicle there. So, what's up? Kind of cool, right? Got to get it outside for a better view. Alright, so there's the two camera mode, the backup camera and the front camera. Alright, so there's the rear view, and then if I swipe, I get both the front and the rear view. And I swipe again, I get the front view. Shut it off. That should go off in a couple of seconds, and then when we turn it back on, there we go. It should boot straight up to the rear view. It did. So now we got a rear view monitor. What I'm going to do, I'll show you. What I got in my brain is kind of ambitious, but let me get my light on here. It's dark outside. Right now I have it setting up there, and if you notice the angle it's setting, it looks like it's pointed up, but that's actually the way the thing is. The camera is laid out. So you see this glass, this plastic right here. What I got in mind is potentially mounting it inside that housing. You can see how the angle is very similar to the angle of that light, that rear brake light. So my idea potentially is to mount it either in here or in here. And this whole piece can be bought. It's not a big deal. I'm thinking I can pull this whole piece off and drill a hole right here and mount it inside there. And if I get that angle just right, it looks like it would need to be angled up. It's not a perfect match, or angled down just a little bit. I think I can make that work. I ain't sure I'm doing that yet, but that's where my brain's at right now. So